reflections on Saturday now? You've had a bit of time to digest it all?
Just disappointing, really. I thought the first goal would win the game, and I thought we should have got that. And I wouldn't have seen Norwich coming back from that, really. So it's a double-edged sword, really. The penalty not only missed, but it actually gave them a lift and knocked us a bit confidence-wise as well. So, but I was quite pleased with them. I thought we played some really good stuff. I thought there was naivety in the team. The penalty that we gave them was a gift, with somebody running away to the corner flag. I'm hoping it's things that people learn. You can't just keep saying it's a young lad or it's a young this and that. We've got to take responsibilities now. And one bit of sloppiness, all that effort and the 90 minutes that we did was put to bed. We didn't get anything out of it, which is wrong. Like I say, if you don't win the game, you've got to come away with something.
Have you seen enough from them to suggest that those players you talk of can learn from it?
Well, you just hope they can. You don't really know, do you? Until it happens again. I thought I'd already made the point when I said about no silly free kicks, because one or two of their players go down very easily, and I made that point before the game, and I thought we'd avoided that, but then obviously Hayden comes on as a sub and sticks a foot out. Why sticks a foot out, I still haven't got a clue. But it's enough to cost us the game.
Before Saturday, obviously, the last defeat in the league was the first game of the season, and the team then responded really well, and you went on this brilliant unbeaten run. Do you feel that you can do that again? You can recreate that, if you like?
It would be nice to think so. Yeah, I think you've got to look for things like that. You don't always come back. Don't always start with a win in a good run. You might have, like we've always said, every run I've had, we've started with a couple of draws. People moaning about drawing games, but you've just got to get back on the road and start picking points up again, and hopefully 3, but 1 if you can't.
You got Johnny Howson tied down to a new contract this week. Just talk to us a bit about him and how important he's been for you since you arrived at the club.
Well, I've got to say that in a way, Johnny's one that surprised me a little bit, if I'm honest. I've always thought he's a half-decent player when we played against them. But I didn't ever think he was inspirational like he is. And to me, he's just got better and better since I came to the club. And seeing him at close quarters like I have done, like this season, like I say, I don't think there's a better player in midfield in the league at the moment. And it was I think you've got to start looking, the club's got to start looking, as I've said to Steve and Neil, behind the scenes, that we've got to start putting things in place, whoever's the manager. And we've got to look at the players that we want to tie up and get it done sooner rather than later. And that's why we're pleased that Johnny's tied. And I think he's happy as well at the moment.
As a manager, I imagine there's some players who you maybe keep more of a close eye on than others, if you like. Maybe you watching what they eat, what they do on the field, what they do off the field. Obviously, I imagine Johnny's probably the complete opposite of that. Is he? Is he one of those that you don't necessarily have to manage as closely as some others?
No, Johnny will probably eat McDonald's as much as anybody, I would imagine. I don't know. You just trust players now. I think when you get, when you're at this level, you can't sustain the level of fitness and that you need at this level without looking after yourself, without being being a trainer and being on top of your own game. So it's just total trust now, I think, with managers. Yes, they keep you've got your chest thing on to tell you how many kilometres you've done in training, and but the food. I mean, the food we have at Rockcliffe is I've never seen anything like it. It's like the training ground. I've never seen anything like that either. It's just fantastic.
And they say, you touched on it earlier, but they say, a sign of a good club is players signing and extending contracts, deals not being allowed to run down. As a manager, would you go along with that?
Yeah, I think you've got a plan. I think at clubs I've been at in the past, there's been a lot of stupidity, I think, at times. I've had chairman tell me, well, why do we need to give him a new contract? He's got 2 more years. Without understanding that he needed a new contract as a lift, whether it's a few extra quid in the past, what it's been. Not in this case with Johnny, it isn't, no. I think Johnny just wanted to play for the club. He's loving it at the moment. But you have to look further ahead and the players that you think you're going to get success with.
And there seems to be a really positive feeling around the club. When we hear from players, they always talk about how close the group is and how good the atmosphere is, and the culture as well that you've brought to the club since you've been here. So how would you describe the culture that you as a manager tried to bring and build here at Middlesbrough?
I think it's just how you are, really. I like people to have humour around the place. I like people to come and enjoy training, whether they've been left out, whether I've given them a rollicking or what have you. It doesn't carry on like, it goes out the window 5 minutes later and we're back to normal. Nothing festers in the place. And I think you've got to, the only thing we're missing are the fans. I miss the fans. I like talking to the fans and getting them involved. And hopefully in the next few weeks we might be able to get a few of those back.
Yeah, I want to come on to that. Just on the culture that you talk about, is there some things, as much as you will let things go after you've had your say, is there some things you don't compromise on, whether that's punctuality or whatever it might be? Is there some things that you are quite stern on?
Yeah, the lads know. They get certain things, especially if I'm talking on a Friday when we're doing tactics and one or two are muttering behind, and I ask them if they've heard could they tell me what I've just said, and they say no, and it costs them 20 quid.
Is that an actual, you fine them for it?
I think Brit just keep that. I think that's going towards a good cause at Christmas. But yeah, they've got to pay attention to me when I'm on a Friday, so it's up to them.
You touched on it there. News this
Having said that, I've got to tell you, at the same time, when people are talking and I don't notice them, other players will tell me that they're talking.
But that's
so it's a really, it's not just me jumping on the bandwagon.
But that shows that it's working, though, doesn't it? Because you've got the players are clearly buying into it. You've set the standard there, and they know that.
Absolutely, yeah. It is funny at the time, I must admit.
You touched on it earlier about the news this week that fans will be allowed to return when we come out of lockdown. 4,000 in low risk areas, 2,000 in areas that are tier 2. A bit of light at the end of the tunnel here, it seems.
Yeah, and that's why, I implore everybody up in Teesside, around the area to stick to what we're saying and try and be careful. Because, we need to get that down, don't we, so that we can get fans back in. It makes such a difference. And
for you, you've been robbed of it a little bit in terms of, you haven't been able to step out at a riverside with fans in there yet, which is, I imagine, quite difficult for you.
It is. What I've tried to do is I've tried to get the fans to imagine that they're here and try and get the excitement going around the place, that, they're so looking forward to coming back. And what a better Christmas present than getting a couple of thousand people in the stadium. It would be great.
Absolutely. Derby County, obviously, tomorrow then. Recently changed things around with the managers. Are you surprised at where they are in the table, though, and their start to the campaign?
Yeah, they've got a good squad, haven't they? I always thought, looking at the squad on paper, it's an excellent squad. And even on Saturday against Bristol, they had 63% possession, apparently, played some good football. So it's a very difficult game. They're all difficult games, whether they've got a new manager or whether they're top of the league or bottom of the league. I think there's no games in the champ. That's why I've been in it. So that's why I love the Championship, if I'm honest, because you just don't know. You have to come up with solutions if you can at times and change things and hope for the best. And that's what I do.
You've come up against teams with Wayne Rooney in it plenty of times before. From what you've seen of him during your time in the game, how do you think he'll adjust to life as a coach or a manager if that's the route he decides to pursue?
I think it'll be difficult for him. I think if he is going to become a manager, I think he'll call it a day at the end of the season, I would imagine, because I don't think you can manage and play at the Championship level. You might be able to get away with it lower down, but I don't think you can do that at the Championship level. And I would imagine he's ready to settle down and give it a go. From what I'm heard, he wants to have a go at management, and you look at the other lads that have done it. They've all done quite well, haven't they? Having said that, it does help when you take over a club like Rangers or Chelsea. But Frank started at Derby, didn't he? Got his loan players in, and I thought he did excellent at Derby with the youngsters. So, I'm sure Wayne sees that, and with Rossini with him, and as well who's got his qualifications. They're not going to lack confidence, that's for sure.
And just finally, Neil, team news. How are you looking? Any other concerns ahead of tomorrow?
One or two little niggles, but we've got another 24 hours yet, so we're training later on today, and we'll have a look at what they are. Really, I don't expect anybody new to come into the squad. Quite honestly, we haven't got anybody new, I don't think, to come into the squad.
Neil, appreciate your time as always. Thank you.
No problem.
Neil, it's Keith at Sky here. You touched on it there. How much are you enjoying seeing the likes of Wayne Rooney, Frank Lampard, Stevie Gerrard making their first outings as managers?
I think it's good. I think it's, I think you've got to, Wayne's not taken any qualification, so it must have just come to him really in the last sort of, I would think, 18 months and what have you. But I do think that when you've had so much experience, it's quite natural, I think, then to try and see if you can use that experience to your advantage. Really, the only thing is, it is a lot different managing a club than it is playing or player coach, etc. When you have to make the decisions yourself, it becomes far more difficult, really, and it's something that probably even Wayne hasn't been accustomed to. Are you with me? But that, at the moment when he's a caretaker, I don't think he'll have that problem. I think they'll just be enjoying it really without any worries really, but all of them.
What advice would you give him, and would you have a chat with him tomorrow night to give him some advice moving forward?
I don't think Wayne Rooney will need much advice, if I'm honest. I think he'll have enough people he can pick the phone up to. I'm sure he'll be ringing some of his ex-managers, one in particular, to get advice, so I don't think he'll need it off me. But I always say to managers starting up, make sure you get a good chairman or owner.
Yeah, it was interesting. I actually spoke to him yesterday at his press conference, and obviously when I brought you up and said you're up against Neil, who's at the other end of the scale in terms, you keep telling us it's your last season. He's just starting out. I said, what do you expect to come up against? And he just smiled. So he says he finally got around to answering the question and said that he knows what your teams are all about, and he sees it as a massive challenge. So I guess, how do you see it coming up against a team who have essentially got 4 managers tomorrow night, haven't they?
Yes, yeah, I suppose they have in a way. Listen, it's a group of young men who are setting off, and I would imagine they're excited at the prospect of taking over what is a massive club. I mean, the number of times I've nearly gone to Derby over the last few years is ridiculous. I think I've been there about 3 times, really, almost. So I know how big it is. The facilities are, I go on about the Middlesbrough facilities, but Derby, if not, or it might be even a little bit better than Middlesbrough. It's unbelievable what they've done there, and it's crying out now. Good fans, really passionate fans, and I used to love the baseball. I think one of my memories playing was at the baseball ground when I was not with Burton Albion when we had the cup replay, but when I was a young lad at Chesterfield in my first year, we played Derby County in the FA League Cup or something like that, Alan Hinton and all them. And I remember we went there, and there was a lad called Mackay. Can you remember? Dave Mackay. And McGuigan said to us, I remember the team talk, and he said, "Get at this Dave Mackay, he can't run." He was bloody right. He never moved out of the centre circle, and he was the best player on the pitch. And Alan Hinton kept putting them crosses in, but we played well, but we got beat. But it was a great atmosphere, even in a cup match for me at Chesterfield. So it's always been a special club, especially when I took over at Burton Albion, and that was such a massive club then at the side of wee Burton.
Can you believe, Neil, where they are right now at the bottom of the championship?
No, it's not. It's a good job really for somebody, whether it's Wayne or whoever it is, because with the squad they've got, I can say there's only one way they can go, I suppose. I remember when I signed for Scunthorpe and they were second from the bottom, and Ron Ashman said there's only one way we can go, and I proved him wrong. we finished bottom and went relegated. You know, it's a difficult league, but they've got such a good squad. And they haven't got to get too many wins to be mid-table at this time of the season. So I expect them to be more than comfortable, if I'm honest, when the season ends.
Great stuff. Thanks, Neil.
Thank you.
Simon Old North, please, have you?
Hi, Neil. Just one from me this morning, Simon from Tyne Tees. When you've come off a long unbeaten run and you've taken a defeat, is there an art to what you do next at that point?
I don't think so. I think you've just got to focus on what you think is best, not get drawn into, you know, we didn't play bad on Saturday. If we'd have scored the goal, we'd have won the game, I think. So we're not far away, you know. I get a little bit, is it greedy, the word? You know, I think we could have won every game, me. Been 10 points clear. That's how I look at it. Are you with me? So it's, disappointing that we didn't come away with anything and that we are where we are. But I can't fault anything at the club other than naivety. They've done really well, and I've just got to keep plugging away. That's all, and do the best I can with what I've got at my disposal.
Thank you.
Thanks, Len.
Next one.
Me next? Yeah, you got me.
Simon, is it? Who is it? Oh, up there. Here we go. Yeah.
Up here. Hi, Neil.
Hi, mate.
Neil, all his Manager of the Month awards. Have you not worked out? Has any manager worked out a formula for not losing the game after? I mean, you did a nice thing and auctioned off your award and still lost the next game.
Yeah, I don't. To be fair, I don't think I've had 11, and I don't think I've lost any. I've only lost one, I think, before. So it's never been anything. And I knew about it before we played Brentford, so I classed Brentford as my next game.
We'll give you that one.
Okay.
Just talking about the fans, obviously they're saying that Tier 3, which a lot of the North East has been in, won't be allowed fans in. If some teams like Boro and others don't have fans and others do, is that going to be a handicap?
Well, obviously, yeah, it'll be a handicap, won't it? But even myself, if we didn't have any fans and other people were allowed fans, I'd be delighted, really. I don't mean delighted that we couldn't have fans. I mean just to get fans back in, mentally, to let them have their own club and something to look forward to. You know, I don't think you can put a price on that. So I think, you know, we've just got to try and get to level 2. And to do that, it's hard work. You know, we can't just carry on. We've got to work hard to get to level 2 so we can have these fans in.
And you did have fans, I mean, just a few, about 1,000, I think. You've had one game, so you've had a taste of it.
Yeah, and there were no problem at all. I mean, it's disappointing. I suppose it's hard for the government to get it right, really. You know, I can't see in the hell why golf can't be played when you've got 2 people or 4 people miles away from each other that can self-isolate in the middle of nowhere. So it is difficult. But you've just got to, you know, they're doing it for a reason, and we've just got to adhere to that. But the way that we looked after those 1,000 and the safety precautions that we took was fantastic, really. Far more healthier than going in a pub. You know, it was, I thought the club was super that day.
And just the last one, talking about Wayne Rooney starting off in his career in management. Would you fancy starting it all over again now, or are you happy enough with being a manager in your era?
I just think it's far more difficult now. There's far more scrutiny. You haven't got the trust now. Where, you know, when I started, as I always said to you, the local journalists, I used to have them on the bus, tell them everything, and you know, in confidence, I used to say, and I knew it never got out, and you can't do anything like that now. So you can't. You've got to be wary of everybody. You know, every journalist, everybody that talks to you. It's sad in a way. Every phone, every fan zones and things like that. What I read, they're all experts. You know, they all the flavour of the month one week, or you're dead and buried the next. The phone-ins are, you know, they're all managers. So it's very difficult now coming into it. But it's a great game. It's a great game, and I think it's, people will still come into it and try and do well, and that's why it's nice to see the youngsters in it. I mean, the thing about it is, and I'm not just blowing my own trumpet, but I'm 71, and if I left tomorrow, it would be hell of a difficult to find who you're going to replace me with. And not just me, Neil, but most of the clubs, the directors and owners and boards have got a right job on their hands nowadays, because they don't, 10 years ago, you'd have a choice of 10 or 15. Whereas now, I think it's very difficult to pick a manager for your club now, especially one that fits what you're looking for. So, I think I've had a great time, but I'm far from done yet.
Good man. We'd like to hear that.
Thank you.
Great stuff. Thanks, mate.